Today's Chinese idiom is using a book to find a horse. The Chinese translation is 按图索骥. No, it's not. The Chinese translation is 按图索骥. By the way, thank you so much for watching our videos, you sexy and intelligent human beings. Soybean and I really appreciate the love, even if you don't love us. The word-for-word translation in Chinese is going by the book to find a thoroughbred horse. For me, when I was thinking of how to explain this idiom to you guys, I think the most idiomatic way to say it is using a book to find a horse. So I hope you guys are okay with that. Us Chinese people use this idiom when we want to refer to somebody who sticks by the rules a little too much. And here is how this idiom goes. Back during the spring and autumn period in the country of Zheng, which was a really awesome and fabulous country back then, there was a man who was a horse expert, and his name in Chinese is Bo Le. Well, actually, his real name was Sun Yang, but in China back then, everybody has like a shit ton of names. So his name was actually but back then in China, people had multiple names. So even though his name is Sun Yang, everyone knew him as Bo Le. And so let's just call him by Bo Le. That's pretty easy to pronounce, I think. Bo Le was a genius when it came to determining which horse was the best in its breed. He could tell which horse was fast and strong just by looking at it. I mean, most people would need to examine a horse for a really long time. He didn't even need to. He was that good at figuring out horses, kind of like the horse whisperer, but he was even better. He didn't even need to whisper to horses and he could tell how amazing it was. Bo Le felt like it was his duty to show people how to tell whether your horse was a good horse or not by writing a book on horses. This book basically told you all you had to know about horses. Like, how do you look at the eyes? How do you look at the tail? How do you look at the legs? Bo Le had this little son who I believe was around 5 to 6. This idiom has been passed down for so long, I'm not really sure what the age was. I'm pretty sure it was a little boy because this boy did not know anything about horses. Now, his son was really passionate about horses too, and he really wanted to show his father that after reading his book, he could find the finest horse in the land. He really read this book. He read this book over and over again, backwards, inside out, and really digested the material. One thing you have to know about books back then is that Chinese books are written on this bamboo material. There wasn't really pictures to go along with the writing. Here's a picture of what an ancient book in China looked like. So it was all word, no picture references for this kid at all. He was so excited to show off to his dad that he decided to take a walk to find his dad the finest horse. As soon as he left the house, he walks into the backyard and he sees this creature and he goes, "Ooh, this looks like a really fine horse. I mean, it's got a pretty long forehead, the eyes are round and just far apart enough to be a horse. It can also jump really high. So this must be the finest horse. I'm gonna bring this horse back and show it to dad." Bo Le's little son brings this horse in a sack and presents it to his father. And he goes, "I did good, didn't I, Daddy?" He probably didn't say that. He takes this horse, all right? I'm using air quotes because it's not a horse. He takes this horse out of the sack and shows it to his dad. What does he whip out? A toad. Bo Le looks at this toad that his son happily presents to him and he just laughs his ass off and he goes, "Wow, son, you did a really good job. I mean, this specimen can jump really high, but the only problem is nobody can ride it." That's where this idiom ends. At this point, you guys can probably analyze this idiom on your own. We all have to understand that his son was very innocent. I mean, it's not his fault that he wasn't able to consult other books with pictures. I mean, he couldn't Google back then. But the moral of the story is you have to confirm what's at hand through multiple sources, right? You can't just get your knowledge from one place. We use this idiom when we want to refer to somebody who sticks by the textbook a little too much. You can't go by the textbook and refuse to consume knowledge from any other sources. Like, you have to consult multiple sources before coming to a decision. You can use it if somebody's being too rigid in their ways, if somebody's too stubborn, too narrow-minded, unfortunately. I mean, in the future, if you guys are reading a newspaper, don't just get your news from one source, right? Maybe consume multiple newspapers and read magazines, read opinion columns, or other editorials so that after you guys have consumed all of this information, you can make the most well-informed opinion on your own. It's okay to be ignorant if you're a kid and you just haven't seen the world and you can't make well-informed decisions. It's not okay when you're adults and still making very uninformed choices. Go out there and consume as much information as possible and try to use your best judgment on things. I hope you guys enjoy that idiom. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a message in the comments. I love reading your comments, and so does Soybean. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.